So today I'm going to show you over 30 different window designs here in Valheim in just under 1000 seconds. So let's jump straight into it. So first up we have just your standard type of window, and these windows are going to work for all different types of shapes and sizes, and they are the sort of window that you should be able to use pretty much from the early game, apart from maybe things like the aesthetical stuff out here with the item stand and the tankard, but that's just to show that you can have window sills on these if you want as well. So obviously what we've got here is just your normal sort of wall, and I've just showed you a few different ways that you're able to do this. Now the way that these are built is going to be by using these wood poles, and you can see here we just place them on the corners. In this case right here, it's a case of just deleting the wall on the inside and placing them like pretty standard. For this one right here, you can see if we come to the outside, this is 2 high, but the window is the same size as the 3 high. What you need to do is of course use the half wall here and the half wall here. So that would be of course this right here that you place down the bottom and on the top to leave the gap, and then you can place these log poles in between again, and you've got yourself a little window looking out that's more at eye level if you're not building quite so high. Now, as well as doing the sort of the wood poles on the sides here, you also have this option over on this window we've done right here. So the option for this one would be to use these things here, the core wood beams, the log beams, and to make them like this. Now, you could do this for each and every one of these windows if you wanted to. Just wanted to show you the options of what they look like. So you can see there we've got a bit of a 2 wide window there, a bit of a longer one. This one here being the shorter one. In order to make this one, you simply just leave a bit of a half gap. So we've got the full size wall here, which is of course this wall here. Then we've got this wall here up the top, and then we've left the gap, and the poles in between are of course these smaller poles for the vertical and the same size wood beams for the horizontal ones. And then I've just put some stuff outside there on the windowsill, as I say, to show you that. But there are the first 4 options for some very easy window designs that'll fit just about any type of house. Alrighty, next up we have like the lattice sort of style design windows with the big crosses being put in front. These crosses are of course the wooden roof crosses that you can use, the 45-degree ones, and also I'm going to show you a way that you can incorporate a 26-degree one if you want as well. Now obviously what I'm showing you here is just like some bog standard ways of doing it, similar to how we saw in the last 4 windows, the way that you can have them with the gaps there to simply place them in, and this is what they look like. This one here being the shallow angle one for the half window, and obviously if you wanted to you could have more of these going vertically or sideways as you see here, and this lattice makes for quite a nice effect. You could even make an entire wall out of this if you wanted to have a bit of an open plan feel to certain types of building, particularly for something that's like an outdoor style build, like maybe a barn or some sort of farm building. That might work nicely. But again, just wanted to show you these. Now you can still add the windowsills to these as well. We can see how they look if we just place them here. Come back here and have a little look at that. So you can still have the window ledges and things like that outside if you want, but just another idea there for a different type of window. Okay, so a few different designs to show you now that are starting to get a little bit fancier, and the way that we use these is by using what you'd normally use for the roof with the wood walls at the 26 degrees or the 45 degrees. So this right here is the 45 degrees, makes it cut for that steep angle, and then I've gone ahead and I've put some of the log beams, or wood beams I should say, across the top here. I think it just looks a little bit better to have them, but you don't have to have them. For this window right here, the one where we use the half slabs on the top and bottom to create a bit more of an elongated shape, what I've done is place the 26-degree ones in here like this, and I've gone ahead and put the vertical wood poles as well as the horizontal ones to sort of frame the window nicely. So if you're inside here looking out, you've got a good view at eye level of what's happening, whereas this one here would be a little bit higher. Then finally, if you're going for something that's really big, you can make something like this. Now, just to say, what you can do is use the wood beams on these ones right here and place them in the middle like this, and I'll show you how this looks for each of them. Now what this will do is just give you a slightly different aesthetic for each of these 2 windows we've already seen, where they're sort of split down the window, or the window I should say split down the middle to give you like 2 separate windows forming the one if you wanted to do it that way. This one right here is just a combination of all of that, where we've got wood beams going in all directions. So we've gone ahead and used some of the vertical ones, the horizontal ones, and the diagonal ones to create the shape that you see here. Obviously this is something you guys can like play around with, but for now this is just giving you a few of the basic ideas as to how this looks. So some more late game sort of options now, because they do require iron to build, but they also look very cool. I think they do have a bit of a prison look to them, but honestly you could probably incorporate these into a lot of different styles of builds. So all we're doing here is filling the gaps with iron gates, and just to show you, if we go around the back here, they just snap in very nicely and are hidden by the wooden wall for the bits that hang down. So like the actual iron gate, for example, is a bit taller than this, right? Like you see, if I come around here, this might be a bit clearer. There we go. So it would technically be like hanging down, right? But it just snaps into place really nicely. Now this is true for all the size designs that we've gone for, even the little ones here. So you have these little dungeon type of things in here, and there we go, it's all completely hidden, so it looks really cool. On the bigger one, you have the extra sort of locks in the middle there where the key would, theoretically go into. But I still think it looks pretty good because obviously it's still like it's symmetrical as long as you do it correctly. So to do like these bigger ones, you can see we've got the two doors there that overlap each other. But again, on the inside, there is nothing there happening in terms of them, being in the way. Now, the other thing with the iron gate doors is you can open them. So you've got windows now that open, and this is where this design gets really cool. This, I think, is one of the closest simulations to a real window that I've seen. You need to make sure you open them from this side, and I'll go ahead and open all of these so you can see what I'm talking about. But this way the windows open outwards rather than opening inwards. But as you can see, they're framed quite nicely. Now, the only thing is, on this one on the end here, it works pretty much perfectly, but on the other ones, it doesn't work quite so great, right? Because you've got these bits hanging over. Now, I personally still don't think that's the end of the world, although this one here doesn't look great. I think when it's above like this, it's not so bad. However, what I'm going to do now is just take this down a second, and we're going to look at making a window that is exactly an iron door size, and then you'll see what I mean when this really starts to come into its own. Okay, so when you build like this, you can see that they're 2.5 high. Now you've got these big windows here that can open up just like this. So this is starting now to look really cool. And just to say, this top one right here doesn't have to be 2.5 high. If you wanted to just be building it like this, for example, that would be fine. There would just be a bit more above the window than below it, in terms of like below there's just a half block and above there'd be the double block. But I still think this is a pretty cool option. And of course, like that's like when it opens, yeah, okay, this is a bit of an issue, but the whole time it's closed, which you could just leave it closed the whole time, I still think that makes for a really nice looking window. Now, once again, you can go ahead and place down windowsills underneath this if you want to do that. And if we come through here and we try to open this right now, it will still open with the window ledge there. So for example, if we get a window ledge here and we look to place this just along here like this, this is what the windowsill will look like. And again, this now is starting to look really nice. And just a final thing to say on this, if you do want to put something on the windowsill like I was showing you in some of the previous designs, and you open the window up, again, this doesn't affect it at all. So you can have the windows open or closed and still have stuff there on the windowsill. Okay, something a little bit different now, just because you may not have thought of this, and these are just some basic ideas, but you can play around with it a little bit more, and that is to include one of the wooden dragon adornments or more in the windows. So it does leave for quite a small window. Like if we come through here, you'll see to look outside, there's not a lot going on, but it will let in a little bit of light, and that's just the basic one. Like some of these ones over here, you can put them in different directions and different heights and things, as you see, and I've done it over here as well. It just gives you something like a little bit different. Now, this is not going to be for everyone or every circumstance, I don't think, but I just thought I'd include it because it might have been something you hadn't really considered, to use that dragon adornment as part of the window designs. Just a few quick ones here I wanted to include. If you want some thinner vertical windows, the best way to do it, I found, really, is to use the wood poles here like this and put them in vertically, and you can see the different options that you have available to you. I'm not going to spend too long on this, it's a reasonably obvious one, but I did just want to include it for inclusion's sake. You can also play around with these ones a bit. You can see by using these vertical beam things here, you can do little things like this to just add a bit of design to it if you want. Of course, you could even put some horizontal things in as well if you really wanted to go for it. So with these ones right here, you can play around with it and kind of come up with your own patterns and things like that. But what it will give you is just a bit of a different type of window, where it's almost like a pattern sort of design. And as I say, if you play around with it a little bit, you can get all kinds of different options. Just a random little side note here, there's a couple cool things you can do with signs. First of all, by placing multiple signs like this, you can almost get a bit of a shutter looking effect. Now, this looks okay on wood, but it doesn't stand out great. However, if you're doing it against stone, then it really does stand out a lot better. So just thought I'd mention that as a bit of an option. The other thing you can do, if you want half of a half-size window, if that makes sense, you can do this. You can place signs along here like this to have a bit of a design like that. You could even place them at different heights. So if you wanted to like make a bit of a pattern out of this, you can place like a couple a bit higher here, and I'll just do this very quickly. You guys will get this looking a lot better than this, but this is just to show you like the idea, and have like a different sort of checkered pattern design and stuff like that as well. So a couple of things that you can do with signs that I noticed when I was making this video, and just wanted to include them. So now for some more traditional looking windows, and the way we're going to do this is actually by using doors. You can see these are doors, and they can be closed, so you essentially have there like a shutter that will actually close. You can open them inwards if you want to have a window that's open. I don't think it looks great with this one. I think this one here is better off going this way, but for these here, it's not so bad. The only issue is it will take up a bit of room inside here, but what you could do then is on the inside, you might want to have like a table in the window or some chairs or something like that, right? And when we come around this side, you'll see when they open inwards like that, they do look kind of cool, and because the doors give you a good frame and stuff as well. Now, if we were to open these outwards, I will show you what that looks like as well, just so you know. Huge in the way as always. They really need need a way to turn him off. All right, so when these are open outwards, it looks a little bit like this. Now, I actually don't hate this. I think with the windowsill there, it looks better than without it, and it will save you the room on the inside, of course, because now you've just got the wall, the normal wall space, but definitely a way you can go with that. And just to say as well, you can even try this with gates if you want to make a bit of a bigger one. So if you've got like this here being 1.5 high, the room for the window, then it's a massive window for sure, but it depends how big your build is. It might look okay. The other thing as well, of course, is you could stack the doors on this design if we got rid of this half block up here and have 2 doors on top of each other on each side, and again they can open outwards like that, and I think again that looks okay. So some kind of quirky designs here now, just something that's like a little bit different, and that would be to make up these ones here using the sort of defensive wooden walls, the stake walls that you would normally use. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to make one of these, and then we'll have a look at the different designs that you can do. Essentially what you want to do is place your stake wall down like this, then get your normal wall, and you can snap it to these things here, but when you first try to do this, it'll be snapped to the stake wall, and you have to shift to just move it around to the right spot, and then these things here just sort of frame it a little bit nicer. And it's a little bit of a different design. Again, not sure this is going to be like super useful for, like, you know, as universal maybe as some of the other designs, but I do think in certain situations like this here I thought looked quite nice. In order to do this one, however, I'll just show you guys real quickly what we're looking at here, because there's a bit of work to do in that you do have to dig down underneath. Right, let's get this wood out of the way a second, then I can show you guys. But yeah, we've had to dig down with our pickaxe underneath and kind of hide that under the floor, which means you'd only be able to do this on the ground floor as well. But I don't know, I think there could be some situations where this would be something useful, and if I've come up with a design that I think might have some uses, I wanted to include it. The other thing to say is you could leave it a bit more open plan like this if you wanted to. I just decided to use the half wall here to sort of cover this bit, but that's of course up to you. And then on the bigger designs, it will look a little bit like this. So again, there might be some uses for that somewhere along the line. Let me know what you think down in the comments, guys, but I just wanted to use this one just to include it, you know. So some more kind of random ones here, guys. I was trying to play around with the idea of getting some horizontal looking blinds, and this is about as close as I got it, which was just by placing down a lot of these 1x1 floor tiles like this. Now it definitely gives a different sort of aesthetic. You can see here on all the different ones that we've got, it's something a bit different to it. I think again there could be some uses to these. The only downsides really are from the inside. I don't think they look great, but like this one here is not too bad, you know. And I think again, like, I'm building these reasonably quickly to just make the video on them. You know, if I was building this for my base, I'd spend a bit of time to probably get them looking a little bit nicer than that. You can see here what I've done is just frame this bottom and the top one a little bit bigger, just by when I'm placing it down, you know, instead of it snapping, just using the shift key to just place it exactly where I want it. And I think that just sort of frames it kind of nicely like that. Actually, I wonder, let's try something out while we're here together. I mean, I haven't tried this out, but I mean, you know, maybe do something like that to even frame it. Potentially, don't know, not sure about that. But anyway, again, just wanted to include these as some quirky designs that might just come in handy for different types of things that you guys might be doing. Okay, some more quirky ones here now, guys. Just a way of doing a bit of a fancier ledge if you want, with using the stalls in the furniture section. Just, it is a bit of a weird way of doing it. I think this one here doesn't look too bad, but also one thing that is quite cool is if you stack them like this, then all of a sudden you've got a bit of a lattice window, and really with the other options in the game, this is probably the most intricate lattice that you could create for a window. Now it does cause a slight problem in that it obviously sticks out on both sides, but if you see here, once you're on the inside, you can have it kind of flush to the inside just about, and then it's only sticking out on the outside. So it just depends what you're going for, whether or not this might be a thing, but I thought I'd mention it because it is something a bit different, and I currently haven't seen anybody else do a window like this, so I figured why not include it, just in case it might be handy for some people. Alrighty, next up we have a design here, guys, that you can do from early game and do in all different shapes and sizes like I've shown you here. And the good thing about this is it just requires a little bit of wood because it's just the fences that we are building, putting them in between here. Now in terms of when you're actually placing, if this is your gap, what you want to do is come and get it like snapped and get it nicely like lined up. Then just holding the shift key, you can move it around a little bit like this, and you want this pole here, you see how that's just sticking out from the front of the wood there? If you get it to the point where it's just hidden like that, that means that when you come around this side here, it is all nicely aligned and looks like it's sort of meant to be there. Now what I like about this is it's a bit more like, you know, sporadic looking, a bit more abstract rather than being perfect, and I think when you combine it you get some really nice effects here. So obviously all I've done here is sort of had one going this way and then one going this way. Now the way to do this one though, guys, is if we get rid of these half walls right here, go ahead and select them again, is you want to go and be placing these first in this gap here, then select your half wall and just snap it onto the sides, there we go, like that. and like that, and that will then hide the bottom portion of the fence. Of course, if you wanted to be hiding the top portion, you could do that as well. So depending on how you build this, again, we'll snap that in there. Let's pick this up. Then you'd have something that looks like that. So you can get like slightly different designs here depending on how you go. When these are placed together, this is how they look. So we've got two here next to each other this way, and then if you want to go for the 4 in the bigger window, that's how they'll look. So I think this one's quite a useful design and something that will have a bit more utility than some of the other more abstract ones that I've showed you today. So one thing I wanted to have a stab at was doing some sort of round windows, because obviously in the game it's one of the more difficult things to do, is anything round really. This is about as close as I could get. Now if you have some better ideas, obviously please do feel free to share them. They're not fantastic, I get that, but they are not terrible. I don't know, I think they'd work in some situations. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, guys. But as you can see, all I've done here is use portals and then put some sort of window frame behind them to get that sort of round effect. And I think the iron one over here, maybe that's the best one, although I don't mind these ones. What I've done here is this one here is just on a ledge outside. This one here is more integrated with the wall, and the way I did that was by building it on top of this block right here and then just building the other stuff inside. So yeah, what do you think, guys? These round ones, yes or no? Let's have a little discussion down in the comments. So the next thing I started playing around with was to try and have some windows that protruded outwards a bit like bay windows, if you guys have seen those. Now on these smaller sort of design windows like these two right here, it's a little bit more difficult but not impossible, and it does give the effect of a window being in a couple of different directions like this. And obviously you could, if you wanted to add things to this, you could add the beams and things in here as well, or you could have it like that where like from the inside, like when you're in here, you can just look out and it's almost like a two-directional sort of window. So it just depends like how you want to go, and you can do it with a thin one as well. I think this is again maybe going to be kind of specific as to when it would be used. However, this one over here I did kind of like. This is obviously the bigger one, and this certainly gives more of that bay window effect. Now again, if you wanted to, you could add some beams. Now you could add them either to the exterior bits here, like here and around here and stuff if you wanted to, or you could add them on the inside. But what I really like about this one is it does give you the opportunity here to have a bit of a balcony area. So if your floor was at this level, or even if you just were happy to build a bit of a ladder to go up to it, you could come up here like this and have an actual look out of the window like this. So I think this is an option for those exterior windows, and particularly on the bigger builds, I think there's definitely room for that to be used in certain designs. Well guys, hope you liked today's video, and if you did, please do consider liking and subscribing for more. It really is greatly appreciated. But I just want to say for now, thank you so much for watching, and once again guys, here come the dad jokes. So in today's dad jokes, I'm going to try to be a glass act, but honestly, I'm worried you're going to see straight through all of these window jokes. In fact, they're quite difficult to write, which is perhaps why they call it window pane, but hopefully you'll all agree that I totally smashed it.